Hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Financial Griot, aka TFG. So here at TFG, we love to just share our stories about wealth and just introspection of what's going through our lives. But we take these stories to allow us to create actionable steps in order for us to become the better version of ourselves. And hopefully you can take those as well to become a better version of yourself. I am one of three of the co-hosts, Alainta Ellison, and I have, another guy on the side somewhere better known as the financial. I keep forgetting your thing. You know what it is? No, honestly,
It's the same.
It's the same. You get what I'm saying? The Financial Griot and the neighborhood finance guy. Yeah. So I'm sorry, everyone. It's just one of those days, one of those weekends. But I have my other co-host here. LG, yes. What's up?
What's up, and welcome back. I think a lot of people we've gone to the FinCon thing, and after that, everybody had to jump into their lives. Some people have been traveling. I know I've been traveling. I don't know what other people have been doing, but I'm just kind of to throw it in there that salty wise, I've been traveling, enjoying my life, doing my thing. I went to Orlando. I went to New Mexico, Texas, Mexico for a bit. I'm out here doing it grande. I'm about to go to Lisbon next month. In your faces. So if anybody that's listening to this and feeling a little salty, let it marinate. Let it marinate like a good griot.
So humble. I love it.
Like the humbleness.
just throwing it in our faces as we approach this.
Let it marinate. Let it marinate.
Yeah, we hear you. But today we have an incredible episode for you all because we actually have one of our guests from FinCon. We met at FinCon and she became a good acquaintance, a good friend at this point. So it's going to be an incredible episode. But we do want to know, we do not have the third of our co-hosts here, Lovely, but she's here in spirit. But back to our guests. We have the lovely Linda Vincent with us. She is a real estate agent as well. She does have a entrepreneur business, which is called SheMotivates. So we met Linda at FinCon in Orlando, Florida. And I think how the story goes, we met up, went to a workshop that we thought was at a certain time. It wasn't scheduled at a certain time. We were totally off. We were looking around like, what's going on? And we just start to talk and realize, no, she's from South Florida. I'm from South Florida. She's Haitian. I'm Haitian. And just like our story was just really intertwined. And to say also, when we exchanged numbers, we actually knew each other from the Urban League, Young Professional Urban League. Yeah. You know how, like the Apple iPhones where you have a number already and the thread kind of comes up. I'm like, well, we know each other. So we kind of met each other, I think 5 years ago. We were keeping in contact and kind of just fell off from there. But this is such, in alignment.
So this is how you do your friends, huh? They just fall off. Okay, I see.
It wasn't. Oh, it wasn't.
All right.
Really, I think we met.
You already said your story. You said your story.
No, we met at Urban League at the Young Professional. I think I went to the event in Broward years ago, and we exchanged numbers on something. And it was just like a happy holidays, and we were just talking, clicking, whatever. But just life happens, and I think I moved twice within those years. So anywho. We are back reconnected. Linda is amazing. And I just can't wait to share her story. So before I continue to ramble, Linda, how are you?
I am doing amazing. Can't complain.
She's doing amazing. Linda, when you were in South Florida, because how long have you been a real estate agent?
I've been a real estate agent for 6 years, but I've been a full-time real estate agent for 4.
For 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you've seen, I guess, the transitions and, the ins and outs when it comes to not only taking on new clients, but just seeing and observing how the housing market here in South Florida just exacerbated at this point, because I feel like South Florida was like this affordable gem at one point, Miami, that's more of LG side of the hood. Miami is its own country, right? But Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, I feel like it was one of those hidden gems where it was a bit affordable. You can have, the access of, Miami or Fort Lauderdale, from a train, from a car ride wasn't too bad, but you could still have that affordability of, housing and access to the beach. But now it's like we have to pay for it. We have to pay for it.
What kind of world are you living in? From the train? Like
we have trains in West Palm Beach. We have trains in West Palm Beach.
How was the last time you used a train?
It was earlier this year.
What?
When I go to the airport, okay, sir, you don't know anything what's going on down here. You are in DC. You don't know the new nuances right now, the new things.
West Palm, you get on the random train. You could have just drove. You could have drove. You could have got an Uber. Stop with it. No,
I think honestly, especially if I'm catching a flight in Fort Lauderdale, I think the train is very accessible because when you get off the Bright Line, they actually have a vehicle for you, like a shuttle, so you can go to the airport, any other destination that you want. It had to be in a minimum radius or something like that, but it's really convenient. You don't have to worry about that.
It was like a lie. It's a straight up lie. Linda, you had that look in your face.
What are you talking about?
I'll let you have whatever you feel that that is luxury in your life. Because
I have taken the train and I really like. Anywho, Linda.
I have never taken the train. I have to be on. I agree with Lawrence. I didn't know we take trains down here. I mean, I
take trains.
Taking trains, but I ain't taking no train. I just drive.
Yeah, I take the train. It's very convenient for me. I mean, for you in Fort Lauderdale, so it's like Miami is not that far from you. So for us northerners, Florida, we come down to Fort Lauderdale or Miami. I think it's more accessible to take the train because you don't have to worry about your car because parking down there is like, I don't even want to go through it. So for me, it's nice. It's a thing here. People are taking a lot of trains to go down South Florida now. That's just my experience. You guys just want to use your vehicle, mess up the eco. But but Linda, when it comes to let's first thing first, what made you decide to get into real estate?
Well, I got into real estate because of my son, my oldest son. I have two boys. So I went through a divorce a few years ago, and the initial plan was with my ex-husband and I was that we would start investing in real estate. I've always loved real estate. That's another story in itself, but I fell in love with real estate as a little girl because I spent most of my life homeless right here in South Florida. My mom lost her house to foreclosure, and after that, we were living with people for a long time before we actually got our own home again. So I fell in love with real estate, and I told my ex, listen, let's start investing in real estate back in 06 and 07 and 08. And so I always had that in the back of my mind, but he wasn't there. He didn't see the vision. So after I went through a divorce, I said, you know what? I started this class. I never finished it. Let me just finish it and just have it there just because I believe in finishing what you start. It wasn't for the intention of actually becoming a realtor. But then my oldest son started to have such a hard time at school, and I felt like he was being labeled. And my current job at the time, every time I would ask to leave work early to go have lunch with my son or, different things for school, they always denied me. And so one day I got tired of it and I said, you know what, if I want to make an impact in my child's life and I want to help to change the trajectory of the direction he's going, I need to work part-time or, I just need to jump. So I started to work part-time, like 20 hours a week at my job. And so that I can be able to pick my kids up from school, drop them off, pick them up. I would do lunches with them. And in that small time, I saw that my son's behavior completely changed. And then I said, okay, well, there's something about spending more time with your kids and not being at work, a traditional job 9 to 5. I saw the change in him and I saw a change in me. When you're working 9 to 5, talking to clients all day, I was in the healthcare field. So I was talking to patients all day. By the time I got home, I didn't want to talk. So I realized in that time of me working part-time and being there for my son, doing lunches and all that, his behavior changed, but I also changed. Like I became a mom that enjoyed meaningful conversation with my boys. And I saw that help my eldest son change. And so I decided, you know what? I don't have any money, but I'm going to have to take a leap because he did one more thing in school. And long story short, the police officers had to pull him out of class because he told a little girl, if you don't leave me alone, I'll shoot you. And that's because he was playing a game on like Call of Duty or something. So I guess he went to school and he said that he was in first grade at the time. And he said to the girl, leave me alone or I'll shoot you, like a game or something. And the police officers took my baby out of the class. Like they treated him like a criminal, and they called me at work, and my job would not let me leave. I left that day and I said, you know what? I'm going to just quit. So I just quit and I said, I have this real estate license. I don't know anything about selling homes, but I'm going to learn how to sell homes because I want to be a present mother. Although I co-parent very well with their father, I have to say that I don't consider myself a single mom. I consider myself a single co-parenting woman because their father is very well and present, but he is not in the home. So that's a difference. Even though he's present, he's not in the home. And a lot of the things that I needed to do with my son in order to see a change was in the home, and I needed to be present. So I just started real estate. I jumped. I have no clue.
I think that happens a lot, right? You don't intentionally want to quit or let go your, your 9 to 5, of course, consistent paycheck. But for the most part, especially when it comes to parents or single parents, in this case, it's just such an inconvenience when employers don't understand, like, when you have to step in, go pick up your kid if they're sick, go deal with situations at school, or a lot of things, like your children come first before your job. And as much as they push for the whole family friendliness with employers, for the most part, I think a lot of people have experienced it's not family friendly. It's a business, and you have to understand that from the business side. It is a business, but you are a parent, right? So most times people kind of accidentally come into, situations because it works for their life and their lifestyle. And in your case, you want to be a little bit more present for your children. But also, I think the biggest thing, being, real estate and those jobs in that industry is the flexibility, right? Taking your children to work, taking your children to school, having the flexibility if you want to take them out or just do things with them, having conversations and all this good stuff. So yeah, that's amazing. Now, in terms of just like real estate, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago, right? You have noticed, you have been in this scheme of things when it comes to real estate here in South Florida. We were talking about like how just real estate agents are very pretentious. And unfortunately, being a real estate agent, you have to kind of place yourself in that position in order to do so because it's the image, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're selling, all these homes, but it's a marketing thing. And with the heightened, place with social media, you kind of have to kind of place yourself out there. And you made a great point before where a lot of real estate agents are really good at marketing, but they're not great at selling homes. Can you touch on that?
Yeah. So the interesting thing I noticed about real estate when I first became a realtor is that, yes, realtors are master marketers. I used to say, how can a realtor be closing on homes and on social media all day? I couldn't get it. I thought, like, am I missing something? So what I began to notice is that realtors, I guess they have this thing called fake it till you make it. I don't really believe in that, and I'll tell you why. But it's, put the image on social media that you are, I don't know, the Gucci belts, the Louis Vuitton bags, all that, the nice made up photos. And people tend to want to do business with who they think are successful, is how at least I always say it. And then what I see is, if you look at some of those realtors' numbers, they're not really closing any deals. So to me, numbers matter. Numbers don't lie. And so for me, I just try to figure out ways to just be as authentic to myself as possible. And just stick to what I kind of believe in. So yeah, realtors are they're masters. If you guys will see them, they'll be on social media posting. I'm not saying all of realtors are like this, but they'll be posting all kind of photos. One of my colleagues actually strategically always has a Louis Vuitton bag behind her. And I swear, one of my friends told me, oh, I called such and such to be my realtor. And he started telling me about all the things that she has, not knowing that I know her personally. And I know when we look at numbers, when I look at her numbers and my numbers, then we can compare. That's how I know if you're successful or not. It's based on your numbers. And I can actually see their actual numbers. So most realtors, I think they say that there's about 1% of us that are actually closing deals. There's a very few of us actually out here closing deals. And
there's
most
thousands
yeah. And there's
of real estate
of
agents out here.
Yeah,
how many, Linda?
There's probably in South Florida, I don't want to quote the numbers, but there's hundreds of thousands of realtors right here in South Florida. But there's only a few, like very few of us that actually are using our license, are active. And then there's another few of us that are actually closing deals and making a living, or closing more than $25,000 a year and in sales. Because I mean, if you're only doing 25,000, that's below minimum wage. And so I don't know, every realtor is different. I just tell people, to be honest, most of my business comes from the SheMotivates end of business, because I really just believe in being myself, being authentic. I don't feel that I need to have a Louis Vuitton bag if I still have credit card debt. It doesn't make sense to me. A lot of realtors, and you could do your own studies, you'll see that a lot of them are not doing their taxes correctly. A lot of them are in debt, buying the Louis Vuitton bags, the BMWs, all those things, but you don't have a pot to piss in. When you look at it, you're not investing time with your children. You're pretending for social media, and you don't have any money saved, and you're in debt. I don't want to be that realtor. I want to figure out ways to continue to get out of debt, ways to leave a legacy for my kids, ways to spend time with them, because that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing it so that I can raise them differently than I was raised, So I don't know.
That's really good. And I remember just like our conversations, how you deal with clients, or how you just have a consultation or one-on-one with a potential client to see if you guys actually fit, right? And I think that's really important, because I know some real estate agents or realtors just want to go by, trying to get a sale commission on the home. So why do you feel so you just go with that approach rather than just, hey, what do you need? What are you looking for? You really just do the consultation, see if you guys really fit.
Well, I think it's important. I always tell clients, and I actually teach first-time homebuyer classes quarterly for Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties. And I always tell a client, I want to interview you just as much as you should interview me. You want to make sure that that person is the right fit. What do I mean by that? It's when I meet a client and you tell me, what your budget is, like what your pre-approval is for. Just because, for example, your pre-approval may be at, I don't know, 500,000, 450. That doesn't really mean that you can afford to purchase at that price, right? So I try to get you at that first meeting. I want to get to know you to see how you're going to react when I say to you, well, you want a 5-bedroom, 4-bath house, but you're only pre-approved for 250, and this is what 250 gets you in Broward County, Miami-Dade, or Palm Beach County. I want to see how you're going to react when I actually show you, because it's one thing to tell people stuff, but when you show them, I bring my computer, I put it up. I put up the price range for you so you can see how many homes are coming in on, like comes up on the MLS with that price range, so that you can see that I'm not just trying to like knock you and say like, hey, you can't purchase a home, or you can't purchase that 5-bedroom. I'm trying to show you the stats. The stats says the numbers don't match what you want. You're approved for 250. You're going to get you a 1-bedroom over here. And we're going to work our way up, crawl our way up to 500, So I like to meet a client to see what they're going to do. Some people get upset because people want what they want. They don't care. A lot of them don't care if they're going to go into debt. They can't feed their family. They can't pay their light bill, but they want this house for social media or whatever they want it for. So if I see that you're that person, that if I give you my professional advice and you want to fight me, I tell you, you ain't the right fit. We're not going to work well, because I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm doing this. I became a realtor because I really believe in, I know what it is to not have a home, and I truly believe in building wealth through real estate. No one told my mother that. My mom didn't know. If her realtor came back and helped her, she could have sold her 6-bedroom, 3-bath home that she purchased like at $75,000. She could have sold it for double that and made some money and been able to put her kids somewhere. So for me, real estate is so much more than just let me close a deal and make some money. It's more of how can I help people to see how beneficial it is if you use it as a tool. Because if you use it as a way to stay in debt and you're working 3 jobs to pay for a home, and I know someone like that. They're working like 3-4 jobs to pay for a home, but they're never home anyway. So what's the point?
Right. Right. Let's just take it back a bit, because we're throwing in a lot of terminologies here, and I don't want to confuse the listeners.
I guess I won't even say confuse people. I think a lot of people need to get into that brass tacks, the real deal, explaining these pieces, because we hear all the terms, and if we're not in the industry, it just sounds like gargle. I just hear it all the time, like words like a realtor, real estate agent, broker, or real. I don't even know anymore. Home broker. I have no idea. It's just terms all over the place. What do they mean? Like, who am I looking for when it comes to buying my first home?
Okay, so first you're looking.
I'm tossing out hard questions out here. You look like, oh shoot, I was ready for that. Like,
so the first thing you're looking for when you say, "Wait, I think I'm ready to buy a home," is your bank. You need to know if you could even get a loan. Don't even come to the realtor, because I can't help you find a home until I know what you're approved for, what you're pre-approved for.
Linda, I'm sorry. What's the difference between a realtor, real estate agent?
Okay, so the realtor is just a designation that we have when you we pay like almost $900 a year to have access to the multiple listing service to see all of the homes. So when you pay that fee, you kind of get under a designation, kind of, because you're a part of this big association of realtors. And then if you don't really pay that fee, you're just a real estate agent. Like, you're just a real estate agent. Like, you didn't pay that fee. There's a fee that
you're just a random person. Just like, I'm just waking up in the morning.
You pass the test. You pass the test, and then you don't have access to actually look for homes. Like, we have our own system. Each realtor, if you pay that $900 a year, or almost $900, whatever it is, you have access to search for homes for your clients. You can email them homes. You can look at stats. We have access to so much different things. So as a real estate agent, if you didn't pay that fee, it's like you're not a part of that designation to be able to do that. So you're not really a realtor.
You're not a real person out here. You ain't in the streets. You ain't in the streets.
So it sounds like if I guess if you're paying the fees, $900 fee, then you have access to like multiple, information of units available. But if you, I'm trying to understand the difference. If you don't have, if you do not, you said that pays access fee, then
so
you're not a real estate agent?
So the first step into becoming a realtor is to go to take a class. You take the class, you have to pass the class at the school in order to take the state test. Now, once you take the state test, your license is not active until you actually hang that license under a broker. The broker could be Keller Williams, Coldwell, like I am, any broker, all these brokers out there, right? You have to hang it under a broker. Now, once you hang it under a broker, in order to have access to be able to look up homes for your clients, research properties, email clients properties, you need to pay a fee, a yearly fee to the it's like a real estate association in your area. It's a realtor association. Once you pay that fee, a part of that fee gives you a designation to be a realtor. The realtors are held at a different level because you are actually saying that you're going to follow all the ethical guidelines to be a realtor. There's a lot of different guidelines that they put together. But once you pay that fee, you're also agreeing to uphold your real estate license ethically, per se, right? So if I just get out of school and I just take the state of Florida test and I do nothing with my real estate license, maybe just hang it under a brokerage, but I do nothing else, and I am a real estate agent. Just leave it there. I'm a real estate agent. I know it sounds confusing.
No, it makes sense because under the brokers themselves, I guess theoretically, the brokers sometimes have access to data streams anyways, so you don't necessarily have to become a realtor. You don't have to kind of like buy into the realtor association if you're already in a broker that has a large enough database or database pool.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are just kind of coming into the scenario. They've taken the class, they're becoming real estate agents, but it doesn't mean that they're real estate agents that are also realtors.
Yeah, but most of us,
there's a lot of real estate agents, not a lot of realtors.
Most of us want to be. Most of us should want to be realtors because that system that you get access to is your individual code and your login. So if it's the middle of the night, which I work late nights a lot of times, if I need to do some research and my broker is closed, I'm not going to have access to that system. So usually your brokerage will tell you, that's the first thing they're going to tell you. When you become a realtor, there's expenses. You need to have about $1,000 so that you can start, so you can pay the way, which means some brokers actually, maybe you should have $2,000 because some brokers charge you a desk fee and they charge you fees. So we're looking at the fees you have to pay upfront, including that fee to the association. Most brokers prefer you to pay that fee because of that. When you need to list a property on your own under your name, so your numbers, can reflect, you won't be able to do that if you don't have access to that system. So it really makes no sense if a real estate agent doesn't pay that fee every year.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because
it sounds very hard to be one of those things because they make it sound very sexy on social media. You see everybody puts on a suit and boom, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
But how much is hard work? Because you even said sometimes you put in some late nights. How much work was it to actually really get started as a realtor or real estate agent? And how much commission do you really make based off of any sale? If you could generally tell us.
So when people think about being a real estate agent, they think, oh yeah, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to sell a house and make $10,000, because you usually typically make 6% of that sales price of the house, 5 to 6%. Palm Beach County is typically 5%. Broward County and Miami-Dade is typically 6%, right, of the price of that home. But then if you deduct your commission amount that you pay to your brokerage, if they're taking a commission from you, also some agents will start off at like 70-30, so they'll take 70% and then their broker takes 30% from them. It just depends on the commission split, but typically it's 5 to 6% of the sales price of the home. It could be 4 to 6% if we want to look at it in a range, 4 to 6%. But you typically, my average, let's just say, for example, I have a closing on Monday that's around $550, but my commission part is 2.5% because me and the listing agent, we split it. It was listed at 5%, so I'm getting 2.5%. 13,000 something. Now when my brokers take their funds out of it, then that leaves me with 10,000 and change. You get it? So I think
that's a lot. It's a lot there. I actually like this conversation because I'm like, oh, the numbers are adding up. So are you also paying for your own FICA tax? Are you also paying for your own health insurance?
Yes, because remember, people don't realize you're a complete entrepreneur. So I have a CPA that handles my books because I want to do things the right way. So when I get my commission, to disperse, I have payroll set up and all of that. Most realtors would take their commission and go squander, not me. I know that, sometimes we have very long winters. At the beginning of this year was a long winter for me, which meant, some of my deals were just not going through. You don't know that you're going to make money as a real estate agent until you make money. So I always tell people, I might have 5 clients. Like I'm looking at my board. I have 4 closings. I had one this past week. I have one Monday and I have 2. I have 4 closings this month. I don't know when I'm going to make money until I close. So you can't count on that money. And that's where people's perception, their thought is realtors are making so much money. But what if you make it to the closing table and your client went and freaking deposited sold money into their account? Now it screws everything up. Now the underwriters are looking, where did that money come from? Where did the trail, blah, blah, blah. What if your client lost his job 2 weeks prior to closing? So you're not going to make that money unless there's somebody else that can get on that loan. What if something happened to me recently, this closing that I just had this week, the buyer side, I'm the seller's agent. On the buyer side, the underwriter didn't give them the final approval. So just because they had a pre-approval, that wasn't the final approval. That's the catch. So one of them, we had to get the buyer side. They had to take one person off of the loan and find someone in New York to jump on the loan to get that to close. So imagine that would have been me working with this client who's already under pre-foreclosure status. I've been under contract to try to sell this house for 2 months. And then right at the end, something happened with the buyers. One of them can't get final approval. So they removed that person off the loan, find someone else to get on the loan. And then we got it closed. But what if it didn't get closed? So that means 2 months of me working for nothing. And I had to start all over again to try to sell that home.
That's a lot. Yeah, that sounds really, hey, I'm like, these people making things that real sexy out here. It's like, I'm just closing deals. I'm wearing suits. Look at me. I'm in this new suit. There it is.
Things fall apart when it up until the closing. Once you sign it, you're in the clear, but things can actually happen because it's like a 60 day window up until closing, all depending. A lot of things can happen. And I know what my real estate agent just advised me, do not make big purchases. Do not make big purchases. So as of right now, Linda, as you know, housing interest rate are like super high. I think it's like average right now, like 7%. What would you recommend as a first time homeowner? Like when it comes to deposit, minimums, like what do you recommend?
Well, I would say, someone said to me, Linda, the interest rates are at 7% right now. Oh my God. And I said, well, what's the interest rate for your credit cards? Since we don't know. It's a good question.
It's not me. They'd be like 20%, 23%.
No, they'll say, I don't know. They'll say, I don't know. They don't know.
Linda threw a shade at them like,
because my thought is this. We all know real estate is one of the greatest tools, assets to wealth. Like it is. I don't care. Nobody tell me. And I know it because when I sold a home to a colleague of mine, we graduated together. She bought that home. I think she purchased her first home with me. She bought it around $250, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. When we sold it for $470 in 2 years. In 2 years. What other asset can you have that you can make that much money in that time frame? That's a lot, like without investing in stocks and doing all this stuff. But I'm just saying, like if anyone who purchased, like I have another client, we're closing November 1st. She purchased a brand new home in Boynton, it's a 5-bedroom, 4-bath home in Boynton, brand new at like she purchased it around $350. We're selling it for $675.
That's amazing.
So when people say to me, Linda, the interest rate's 7%. And I'm like, yo, you're watching the news too much. You need to be going on, listening to podcasts, finding people, bloggers that are talking about money, how to get yourself out of debt. If you have the money, because I tell people, there's still people buying houses. I'm still closing. So that means for someone in the world, they're not worrying about that 7%. Right now, they're saying later on we can probably refinance, but let me go ahead and get this while I can. But why don't we focus on debt, paying off your debt? If you didn't have so much debt, that 7% probably wouldn't even bother you. You giving somebody else 20. I mean, when I looked at a credit card statement the other day, I saw that I paid $200 in interest, and that was at 18%. I thought I was going to die. So I was trying to figure out, well, how do I get rid of this debt faster? So I tell people, especially first-time home buyers, I'm like, go back to your budget. I can't tell you if it's the right time for you to purchase a home right now, but don't tell me it's because the 7% interest rate. No, go back to your budget. Look at your budget and let your budget tell you the answer, because oftentimes you focus on 7%, but you're paying somebody 25% on a credit card. And if you're like me, that happened to come from FinCon on this, like, let me figure out what's the interest rate on my credit cards. I couldn't believe I was paying somebody $200 for interest. That bothered me. So
Right.
that's how I tell them, for me. I'm like, that's how you know. You got to look at your budget. So I don't think home ownership is for everyone. I think when you're ready, you purchase a home, but we need somewhere to live. So that's why I don't believe that paying rent is necessarily a waste of money. If you need somewhere to live and you're not ready to purchase a home yet, then pay for where you live at, right? You got to live somewhere. But I think you can prepare for home ownership and not focus on the 7% when you're paying somebody else 25%. Just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, man, that was like a nugget there. 'Cause I think a lot of people don't know that it really comes down to your own personal budget and how you spend money and your own cash flow. If you have no idea what those words are, then you might want to slow down and go back to the drawing board. Some people don't even know that it comes down also to DTI, so debt to income ratio. Like, it's like, what do you mean? Like, if you're carrying a whole bunch of debt and it's taxing you every month and you have no idea what that is, go back to the drawing board. It doesn't hurt you to kind of know the basics. And something that you said about the story about your friend that sold at home, people don't know that, another caveat of home ownership is that capital gains that you can get off of that home ownership. If you actually fall under the 2-year IRS rule, you can get up to $250,000 tax-free profits if you're single, or $500,000 if you're married. That means that extra money that she made off of that, almost, so basically, let me break this down to you guys, right? If you bought a home for $250,000 and it went up to $500,000, you can actually you could sell that home after 2 years of actually living there, 2 years of using the space. You could sell that home, and that $250,000 is pretty much tax free. There's no other place you can actually make this level of money tax free. But if you're married, you can even make $500,000 tax free. That's a crazy amount. So there's a combination there. And you're right, homeownership is not for everyone. But the idea of just, I guess being a forever renter doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, you can start off as a renter. That makes sense. But to stay in that place for I'm going to be leaving, but you never left in 10 years, 20 years, it's a problem.
Can you also talk about how people, clients, when you are working with them, they have what they call it, LG, champagne. I won't say budget.
They say
taste. Okay, let's say that. Yeah, they have champagne taste, but
dollar
like
store
Pepsi,
budget.
Store budget,
like dollar store budget.
It's dollar store budget or something like that. Because I know a lot of people who financially, I feel as though can afford, a nice 2-bedroom, like nothing out of the ordinary, like a nice 2-bedroom or a nice condo, right? But they want the single family home, a space a little bit more bigger, maybe a 1,300, 1,400 square feet.
I want to see the space with that to entertain. Like, we got to knock out that entire
right. It never,
you got to open it up.
Right. It seems to amaze me. Like, HGTV did a disservice to a lot of young people. It's like everybody want an open door concept home. An open door concept home is really like minimal to like nothing to renovations you can do to your home. Everything is just fixed. It's like IG style. Looks really nice. I get that. I really do. But is it important for you to be in a home, or is it important for how the home look? And I think more people leans toward how the home actually looks. And when I talk to most times single people or people with no children, 3 to 4 bedroom homes didn't make a lot of sense to me. And I understand people want to do the house hacking thing, which is cool. I get it. But talk about the affordability of homes, because I think sometimes we look at these big extravagant homes thinking we can afford it, and we really can't.
Yeah, that is, I don't think it's tough, but let me say it as nice as I can. Well, I often use myself.
You don't have to be nice, Linda, just so you know, you don't have to be nice.
So when it comes to real estate, with my clients, I often use myself as an example, because I think when they see that you've been there and I'm giving you advice from a place of knowing, they kind of understand that you just want the best. I always have clients write a wants list and a needs list at our first consultation. And I tell you, don't do it right now. Think about it and send it to me, because then they let me know. I always want to know where you are, what you're thinking, because then it helps me to help you. So when you send me your wants and needs list and I'm looking at your budget and I go and I put it in, like exactly what you tell me, I put it into my system. And then I send you an email saying 0 popped up or 5 came up or 2 came up. But I often tell them that I really believe that we should crawl before we walk. My first place I purchased is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath villa. And that was hard. I'm not going to lie, because I wanted, I have 2 sons and I wanted them to have their own rooms and I wanted the office and I wanted and then I'm a realtor. I'm selling these big houses to people and I just wanted what I wanted. But my broker said something to me. She said, Linda, you need a mortgage that you can pay even if you close no deals. And she said, that means that you can use your other skills to make money to pay your mortgage. And that's the best advice she gave me. I purchased my place for, like $134. It was cheap, and everything worked out. All my bills, housing expenses are so low. I live under my means. So when, for example, when COVID first started, all of our deals, if you were a realtor that had deals that was supposed to close that week when they were shutting everything down, you didn't close. So that was a fear. And we were not allowed to show homes. We were stuck in the house, all that stuff. So that was a fear that whoa, what's happening? I'm not going to make any money. But what I went back to is what my broker told me before I purchased my first place. First off, she came to me and said, Linda, you don't own a home yet. Why? I had a fear. It's not that I couldn't do it. I had a fear that, I'm by myself. What if I get foreclosed? Just all this stuff. And she told me, girl, yes, you can. You can purchase your first home. And then when I was looking, she says, what are you going to get? And I was telling her what I wanted. She says, you have 2 sons. They can share rooms right now. Find yourself a place where you can live under your means so that if one day something happens, you could pay your mortgage regardless of what. 2020 came, I was able to pay my mortgage. And then I got resourceful. I told you guys, I started looking up programs with the city and all that stuff. But I'm happy that someone told me to crawl before I walk. She told me in a few years, when things get, your income doubles or triples and you feel really good, you have savings, you get rid of your credit card debt, all that stuff, then you can go buy another place and then you can rent that one. So I'm happy I had someone that was in my corner that said, hey, look, don't go thinking, even though your pre-approval says that amount, that doesn't mean that you can afford it. And I took her advice and I'm happy I did, because I see people struggling. So with my clients, I tell them about me and say, look, I know you got a pre-approval for $550 and I make more money by selling you a home for $550. But my goal is to help you stay in your home, not to come back and sell it for you in a year. I want to help you stay there. So why don't we look at homes under your budget? Some of them want what they want and I'll just let them do what they want. But the majority of my clients, they usually say, you know what, Linda, you're right. Especially if you have kids. Do you just want to work all day, or do you want to be able to work, take vacations with your kids, talk to your kids, So I ask them all that stuff, to make them think. And I tell them, don't pay attention to HGTV. Zillow is not my friend. Zillow will have you out here doing foolishness, selling Tampa. That's not what real estate is. I tell them that is not what real estate is. Let's be realistic. Everything, when we think about real estate, and I think when I went to FinCon is when I really understood it. Everything goes back to your budget. You can afford a lot if you ain't got a whole bunch of debt. Everything just goes back to your budget. So and as a realtor, I get to see all my clients' personal stuff. And some of them make good money. I had a guy, he's making almost $400,000 a year, but handles his finances recklessly and in debt. So it's so I don't think it's about how much you make. Now I realize it's not really about how much you make. It's about how much you keep, I guess, because I have clients that make the money, but they are reckless.
Yeah, with the spending in their budget. That's so important when we talk about affordability, because when I was in the search for my home, I forgot how much I was to pre-approve. I think like $250, $300 or something along those lines. And your eyes get big, like, oh, I could get this for this amount. But yeah, I thought about what my friends around me was saying. Lawrence is my close friend. We constantly talk about affordability. And for me, being a single person, I try to think about not necessarily what they're giving me in terms of approval for the loan. I want to know what I can afford. And when I stuck to my budget, I really wrote down what I can afford outside of, just housing expenses, because I still want to save, still want to invest, still want to travel here and there. And miscellaneous things happens too when it comes to vehicles and whatever, right? So people know about my story of, getting laid off a month after I closed, right? So that was a really scary thing. But just imagine if I would have purchased a home twice as much, or just kind of maximized the budget that they gave me, then I would have been ish out of luck trying to afford a mortgage. But I was in a very vulnerable state. But because I stuck to the basics of me affording my home on my income, on my savings, however I wanted to, right? And like you said, doing, tapping into resources, utilizing the help around me, I didn't have to tap into my emergency funds. And on top of that, I actually got a new job that pays twice as much than my past employer. So it really helped in my benefit to live below my means, because it's only me, right? And you never want to be in a position where, everything is great now. You're making twice as much of your mortgage, everything is great now, and you're continuously living that life to say that I can afford this, I can afford this. But you want to have the extra funds as well to do other things, because your home is just that. You're living in your home, but you don't want to be, I guess, what's the term? House broke? You really don't want to be house broke when it comes to that. So that's a great point. I'm happy you speak to you talk truthfully to your clients about it.
Oh man, the question I have here, because I'm actually on Zillow. Every time you guys are talking, I was
real thirsty.
I was like, let it roll, because I'm in a very high cost of living area, or at least one of the highest ones, which is the DMV. But I'm thinking about everybody across the state. So even if you're in South Florida, what would you say to somebody that, you know what, these prices are kind of crazy? Do you wait, like a little bit until maybe there is quote unquote a crash? Do you stack up some money for right now because the recession is looming? Or what would you say, I know it's probably against, like just you as a realtor, but ultimately, what would you say to them to, about buying a home in this environment?
I usually ask my clients, are you flexible? Like I have a client right now that I'm having a hard time with helping because he's not flexible. He can only live in Pembroke Pines and Miramar, and his budget doesn't say that. His budget says that he needs to move out. Like not even Little Haiti.
Little Haiti,
you can't even afford Little. Yeah, like his budget says move north, like get in the Port St. Lucie somewhere. I don't know,
Yeah, West Palm Beach or something.
But that's the only area where he can live. So then I tell him, well, you just have to be patient. You either wait it out and wait and see. I don't time the market. There's no way for me to know if it's going to crash, if it's not going to crash. I mean, I can make my assumptions, but I would never make assumptions out loud because that's not my area. I guess I'm an expert to a certain level, but I'm not an economist, put it that way. So I would tell them, if you're a client that is not flexible with moving, then you need to be patient and stay where you are. Don't move. Even if your rent is going to go up, don't move because it costs to move and all that stuff, right? And then if you're flexible, like I have two clients that one just closed in Port St. Lucie, Vero Beach actually last month, and I have one closing in Port St. Lucie this month. They were flexible, so we bought a new construction out there. And then those homes one of them was in the 300 something for Vero Beach, brand new home. I mean, they were flexible. They were okay with moving further out. And then another one in Port St. Lucie is purchasing a 4-bedroom in the 420s. That's still good when she went under contract. So it depends. I just tell people, like, if you can't move, like me, I can move if I wanted to, but my kid's father is right here, lives right over here where I live. So I wouldn't ever move too far from him. So for me, I would just have to look at, I originally plan on purchasing a bigger home next year, but with everything going on, I decided, you know what, I'm fine here. I'll just continue saving my money and I'll wait till the time is right for me and paying off debt and everything. And then I'll make that move. You just have to decide what's best for you. I'm not going to push you to make any move that doesn't make sense. So I usually ask my clients questions. Are you flexible? No, I'm not flexible. Oh, what areas can you live in? Oh, only these 2 cities. Okay, well, this is the prices in these cities. Are you renting right now? Yeah, I'm renting. Okay, well, renew. When is your lease going to be up? Okay, if it's not going to be up to another few months, well, maybe, stay put and let's keep looking. If it comes to the time when you have to renew, you should just renew and we keep looking, and just wait for the time for you. But if you're willing to move, if I have a client willing to move, I say move if you can, because why not? If you're flexible and you can go somewhere cheaper and purchase a home that you really want, and it's still affordable for you and not in the South Florida area, why not?
Yeah, and then we're in a very, I guess, unique situation where a lot of employers are offering, work from home. Some who wasn't offering work from home, and then in the midst of the pandemic, had to, place the workforce to work remotely, has now just exempt anything in the office. Everyone is now work from home, right? And that's a lot of flexibility where you can live anywhere if you want. And I always tell people, hey, you're not a tree. You can get up and move. But I know there are circumstances when it comes to children, family structures, support systems, and I get that. But yeah, if you are in a position you're open to move, then I definitely agree to that advice to really push other resources to see what is best for you. Because I think sometimes we limit ourselves. I have a close sorority sister of mine who bought a home out here in Royal Palm Beach. She was in that home for years, and she was looking to purchase another home here in Palm Beach County, but she was just going through a lot of red tape, a lot of stuff going on during the pandemic, and it was just too much. So she decided to take her funds and built a house in Port St. Lucie, which is over an hour drive north of Palm Beach County. So she has a beautiful new home, a custom design home, all within her budget. Right. So it's some things that we just have to think outside of the box. You're not a tree. You have to really think what works for you and utilize those resources, because you have people like yourself, real estate agent, they'll be able to help you and guide you. Like, you don't have to be here in South Florida. You could be in certain other regions if you want, especially if you have that flexibility to work anywhere.
I wanted to actually broach this conversation because I think it's important to have, especially when it comes to this day and age. There's still a lot of people wrestling between traditional and modern, back and forth. But the idea is that there's a lot of women just not buying homes as they probably should. Throughout the pandemic, I know Alainta was in the process of buying a home, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, why are you doing that?" It's like, "Oh, how are you buying a home as a single woman?" Da, da, da. Can you speak to that idea and that fundamentals, why it's very important for young ladies to really decide for themselves to become homeowners? Why was it important for you? That kind of thing.
Single or not.
Single or not, single or not, yeah. I think a lot of ladies are just like, hey, it's not for me until I get married. Like,
I got to move in with him.
I think for me, it was more about legacy. I always think like, man, the older you get, you start to think your expiration date is coming, right? So I think, what are you going to leave? If I had to leave anything, well, what would I leave my kids? And I think that question stays on my mind a lot, especially when you lose people that you start to think, well, what if my day was tomorrow, and what would I leave them? Like, what can they say that my mom left something behind, a car, like, really? So I always thought about that, and I thought, actually, out of my mom's 5 children, I'm the only one that owns a home, So it was personal. It was, in a sense, for me, was legacy. I wanted to break that barrier of the ones, my siblings, thinking that we can't purchase a home or they can't own a home. I wanted them to see that it's possible. And matter of fact, when I bought my home, all I had was good credit and some stocks. No lie. I was actually still working full time and doing real estate part time. So I wasn't really making real estate money. I was working and making less than $35,000 a year. Okay. But I had credit. And so what I did, I started to make money in real estate, but I couldn't use that income because I wasn't doing it for 2 full years. So I knew that I had some stocks, and guess what? It was in my stash account. And I think that's how Alainta and I started talking, was a stash. I think it's called Stash, that app. And I had some stocks. I used to take like $50 to $100 out of my check every time I got paid, and I would put that money away. And when it was time for me to get my home, I knew when my broker started talking to me, I told her, man, I don't have much money. And she was like, where, she started asking me questions like, you have a 401k, you have this, you have that. And I'm like, oh, but I got stock though. And she was like, well, cash it out and use that as the escrow deposit. And then you're going to use the amount that you would have gotten for your commission for purchasing the home, because you're a realtor, and you're going to use that as your some of your down payment. And all you got to come up with is like another 1,000 or something like that. So we just put the pieces together and I purchased. And like I said, the reason what made me do it is for legacy, because I wanted my kids to see that, man, my mom is not married to our dad anymore, but she still accomplished this goal that she had. She really wanted to purchase a home for us. And it was to give myself stability, because renters tend to move every so many years. I knew that as growing up as a child, I moved a lot. We got evicted a lot. We were homeless a lot. I wanted to create a sense of stability for my boys and myself. So I knew owning a home creates that, because every year your rent go up, you're going to start looking for cheaper rent, right? So you're going to be like, after 3 years, oh man, my rent went up too much, I'm going to find somewhere cheaper. Whereas my mortgage stays the same unless I refinance it down. You see what I'm saying? So I was thinking about all that. I was thinking about legacy for my boys, stability for myself and my boys, for my family to see like, yo, you could do this. It's not that hard. I didn't have a whole bunch of money, but I had some credit, and no debt. At that time, I only had like one credit card, and I had no car note either. So, and I just have my student loan. So I think once I did it, my little brother was like, yo, I want, like, in his mind now, he's always talking about, Linda, what do I need to do to buy something? Now he's thinking about it. Before he wasn't thinking about it, but now he see his big sister did it. Now he's always telling me like, okay, I'm getting married this year. Our next step is to purchase our home. Now the thought is there. So that's what it was about for me. I think all women, whether you're like a whole, I don't know, the modern, I don't know, whatever thoughts you're in, I think it's not even about, it's about what you should do for yourself and for your children if you have children, or for just yourself. And I believe that when I get remarried, I want to be able to bring something to the table. I'm not the type of woman that's like the man has to have everything. I want to be able to come and say, babe, I got this. I already own, I own this. You own that. We have this. Now, what can we do to make more money and da-da-da? Like, I don't want to come to, a guy to come to me and see I don't have a pot to piss in. That's how I thought about things too. When you talk about, do I wait till I get remarried? No, I said, no, I want that guy to see that, okay, she has something going for herself over here, and we could probably buy another place and rent this one and make money, So I guess, it's a lot. I gave a lot, but I think legacy is, if you think about your legacy, your kids' legacy, and what you want to give to this world and building wealth for yourself, I think you can't beat home ownership.
Right. You mentioned it's a great point about stability, especially if you are a woman, you're not married yet, and childless, right? So it's funny, because when we talk about the whole traditional stance, I feel like we place restriction on ourselves in terms of what's the best opportunity for us in 2020. As I have expressed it no more than one time, about there was just so much talk, and people were discouraging me to purchase my home because I'm single, in terms of not married or don't have children. And it was just a lot of things going on with the pandemic. They would just tell me it's not a good time to buy, not a good time to buy. But I'm happy I have like circle of friends such as, Lawrence, my best friend Holly, and everyone else that encouraged me, if I can do it. Right. And for me, I think the whole modern and traditional stance is limiting beliefs, right? Because I purchased my home 2 years ago, and people were telling me, well, what if you get married or whatever? That hasn't happened yet. I'm still not married, so we don't know when those things happen. But if and when it does, you want to be in a position where you're still stable. you have a home that's, almost like rent control at this point, right? With everything that's going on right now. And you have stability. And for me, that's important, having stability as a woman, knowing that I can take care of myself efficiently, but having a partner will really help, of course. But in the meantime, in between time, I can take care of myself. And I think that's one of the things that I think many women who are not married should think about. You shouldn't worry too much so far about the near future or anything in the future. Right now, when the opportunity presents itself, are you going to step up and take it? Or are you going to wait for something that you don't know that's going to happen, X variables, and miss out on a good opportunity to be a homeowner? So yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I think I guess that's the hard question that I had for you, because I think that's very important to know, especially for young ladies. I have a lot of little nieces and little cousins running around. I definitely want to impart on them that they don't have to wait until a perfect moment to make like a really good decision on their financial future. And I don't think there's a guy out there, a guy that's really worth his metal that's going to be mad at a woman that already, own a home. It's like, you own a home? No more dating for you. I'm out. Like, it doesn't work this way. There's an opportunity there. And especially as rent goes up anywhere from 30 to 40% in 2-year, increments, that's kind of insane. Why not buy a home? Why not buy where you can? And sometimes you can even buy a condo that looks like an apartment. That's it. It's the same difference. And there's a lot of new programs that are out there, including the Bank of America Zero Deposit. Kind of want to get your take on that. You saw the news. It's out there. What do you think? Plus or minus? You think it's an opportunity? Or do you think, there's a lot of paranoid people that think it's like a trap? So what do you think it is?
I think it depends on how you see it. Like, first off, if you look at the guidelines of that opportunity, if you call it opportunity, you can only purchase in certain areas, certain neighborhoods. That's number one. That's in Miami-Dade County right now, anyhow. So if you live in Broward County, I'm a Broward County girl. I'm not moving south. So that's already not an opportunity for me because I'm not going to live in that area. And those areas that have been chosen are like low income areas. That's two. So if you're like me, and I don't want to, I grew up in, the environment where, I saw, women being picked up off the street like hookers and drugs and all that. I don't want to raise my family in that area. Everyone's different. So even if you're going to give me a grant for that area, I don't know. For me, I don't want to live in that area. That's me. So if you're going to give me a grant to help me, give me a grant to live wherever I want to live. That's how I see it. So is the grant really to help they said the Black communities and the minority communities? Is it really to help us, or is it really to help the investors come in and do what they need to do? Because you can't discriminate and say who can and can't get that, really, technically, if you really look at it. So for me, I guess it depends on how you see it. For me, I think there's always a catch to those type of things. And my question for anyone who asks me about it is, why not just get your finances together so that you can be able to purchase a home on your terms? I think oftentimes, and it's not a bad thing that there's these programs out there, but I think sometimes those programs limit people to thinking that you need a program in order to purchase a home. And if you just budget correctly, if you just pay down your debt and you learn how to, handle your monies well, you can purchase a home without a grant. I did it. And I wasn't making that much. So, and I know I did it, so I know anyone can. So I think it just depends. The Bank of America thing is great if you want to live in their restricted areas. And then they say they do no credit check and all that. There's like catches behind the scenes. And it's too much for me to get into that. But all I can say is that even if you get a pre-approval for that, you still have to go through the underwriting phase. They're going to look at other things so that they can be able to proficiently qualify you. They're not going to just give it to you and you have horrible credit. They said no credit, not horrible credit. There's a difference, so they're using these words and, like baiting, like bait, and then people come in. But there's a difference between no credit and horrible credit. There really is. So
yeah, they can't trust you. I like that. It's like, I can't trust you like that. I can trust you, but I can't trust you.
Linda, I'm giving you a little bit pushback on that though. On the Bank of, I don't know. I feel like
I'm actually with you. I didn't think we was going to turn on our guests out here in these streets. Like, oh, we can do that?
I mean, me and Linda are friends, so she's trying to get. She's gonna get a little pushback on me. So the average person, we talk about this on TFG a lot, is that average Black American is making under $50,000. The average, right? In Miami, Florida, right now, as we speak, I think houses are running what, 400-500 grand. You know,
Yeah.
so when we're talking about that, and a lot of residents that live in Miami making less than barely federal poverty line, because a lot of areas in Miami are intergenerational. So a lot of people are living in these apartments or homes that are passed down, or whatever situation may be. And I have seen and experienced people who left these neighborhoods early on, or selling these places early on, and 5 or 10 years later, that same home that cost $150,000 is now 300-400K, right? So I guess for me, it's like, we always say that government is not helping us. The government's not helping us. There's no direct relief, right? Even when it comes to student loan, they're not helping us. But when they have resources out there to give the average person making under a certain amount to have access to a home, stability, rent control, when they are not able to have that. So why would it be something of a bad thing? Being a person who have used Make America Grant, it worked for me. Right. And I went from the grant. The only stipulation with that grant is I had to use that grant as income for my tax return. And because I utilized, the net max plan Loris has, I made sure that my tax liabilities were under, so that income didn't really, reflect too much on my taxes. And it was still fine. So we always talking about smart moves and making all these, fluff. But when resources are out there, opportunity is out there, we don't take it, we don't grab it. But we always have an opinion that no one wants to help us. Are we even helping ourselves? Not looking at resources that'll be able to help us, like intergenerational, when it comes to our family. So if we're talking about stability and legacy, how are you going to do that if you can't do it with yourself and your family? So I don't feel like it's a handout. I don't feel like there's stipulation. I feel like if you do not look at this opportunity, Miami, as we speak, is less affordable, right? For the average person who's been in Miami for 20, 40 years, they cannot afford it. If you're not in a home right now and you're renting, you cannot afford Miami, but they're still there with, 4 or 5, people in their families. Why not take this opportunity to be in a home for rent control, whatever you need to do? 5 years, you can sell it, or however you want to do it. So I don't know. I'm a little pushed back on that, because I feel like we talk a lot about government and people not helping us, and resources are out there, and we limit ourselves thinking there's always a caveat, like caveat, I'm out to get you, but that's just me.
Okay. So my response is we're talking about that. We're not talking about grants. There's a difference. We're talking about Bank of America, this opportunity of Bank of America. So the opportunity with Bank of America, you said something. The majority of the price of housing in Miami is not affordable. So if most people in Miami are making below $50,000 a year, how can they be able to afford to get a mortgage to live in Miami, even under that program? Because even in those areas in Miami, those areas that they have chosen, it's still expensive. What we consider it still kind of up there. So the person that has no credit, so-called, and the grant is made for minority people, and you have no credit, you're saying most of the time, if they have no credit, they probably don't have a job paying them more than $50,000. They won't qualify anyways for that grant. That's what I'm saying. Because you still have to qualify for the mortgage itself. Even if you made it easy for me to get a grant, I still have to qualify for the mortgage, because we know Miami is like the second, I think it just went down to the second most expensive place to live. So to me, that grant in Miami is not going to be effective for the people in Miami because we have an income problem. Their incomes are not enough to get even a regular mortgage. Even with the grant help, they won't be able to qualify for the mortgage itself.
Well, right, gotcha. Well, I guess we don't know the ins and outs, right? Because if they're choosing and selecting a specific neighborhood, of course, that discussion is out where it has to be affordable for the person to live or to even, gain a mortgage. I guess my pushback is that, people think there's something more when it comes to these resources that's being used, where I at first did not want to do Bank of America because of, the reputation Bank of America have and systemically how it impacted Black Americans, right? So I understand that, but going through different lenders and my experiences, I'm like, hey, this is free money. I want to be in a home. Let me utilize that. And
So-
it worked in my benefit. But I guess I just don't want people to think that, there's always something on the back end. So if you don't go through it, then you don't know. We miss shots we don't even take. So that's really how I think, because if there is an opportunity, especially if you want to stay in Miami, a lot of people just, intergenerational, they want to live in Miami. If they want to stay in Miami, I really think this is a good resources. And to say that if your income change, because a lot of people income change once they get the house, to say that if your income change, then of course you may end up getting more money. You could end up selling it. But I always feel like it's an asset rather than something that's, potentially negative if you don't utilize it to begin with.
Yes, I agree. But again, we were talking about, I just want to make this clear for your listeners. We were talking about the Bank of America grant that states it's made for minorities and you can have zero credit, and they said zero credit and maybe zero money down or something like that. That's how they're getting people in. But the problem that I have with it is that you're saying that you can only purchase in this area of Miami-Dade County, and we know that Miami is one of the most expensive places to live. So if the average person in Miami is making less than $50,000, that grant isn't effective. Now, I'm not saying that grants are bad. In Miami, the YMCA has a grant. That one is good because now Bank of America knows that most of those people that could probably live in that area that they designate does not make the money, and they will not qualify for the loan, and they can't get the grant. That's what I'm saying.
We don't know that, Linda. I'm saying we do not know that they will not qualify. If I have saved in my family, we're going into, like we talk about soul on here a lot, how it's a thing culturally, and we've been saving, we've been doing this, and what's limiting us is not enough credit. What's limiting us is our income. Right. But if you have a resources that say that, okay, aside from your income and you're not having the best credit, we'll still try to help you get into a home. And I think that's where I feel like our disconnection is happening.
Yes, but you said something. You said, how much did you say the average home in Miami makes? So that I want you to go back to what you're saying. The average person in Miami makes less than $50,000. The average home in Miami is around $500,000. Can that person that makes less than $50,000 afford the home? Let's take away the grant, because
we don't know how much the neighborhood that they're selecting.
The neighborhood that they're designated are those neighborhoods right now are what we call low income areas that they're trying to get people in to come in. They say, what's that word that they use when they're pushing away a certain class of people out of the
gentrification?
Yes, they say something like that. Well, we know it's happening. We've seen it happen in Little Haiti. I'm not saying that the grant is not a good thing. Grants are great. I can give you a slew of grants. What I'm saying is, I don't think the way Bank of America pitched it was an honest way to pitch it, because the people that you say that this grant is for, they can't afford to purchase in that specific area. That's what I'm saying. But the grant, the idea of a grant is great. I push that on all of my clients. If there's grants, get it. It's free money. I push it. I've gotten grants. I'm just saying that particular Bank of America, the way that they marketed that is not really what it is in the back end. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. The grant is good. I'm just saying, who is that grant really going to serve? That's what I'm asking. Because if you have those houses in that area, all of the houses in Miami are pretty expensive. We're looking at least $450,000. So if I'm making $50,000 a year, not including my debt and car notes and taking care of children, can I really afford to purchase in that specific area? Why not create the grant to where I can purchase anywhere and not Miami? Why did they open up Miami as the first place to do it? Why not Broward County, when we know Broward County and Palm Beach County tends to be a bit more affordable? That's all I'm saying. The grant is great. The YMCA has a grant for Miami. I mean, we have so many different grants. They're great. I'm just saying that particular grant, there's going to be a red tape stopping a lot of people from using that Bank of America grant money because of the prices in Miami versus the income, the household income. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Lawrence,
great.
Lawrence, how you feel since you're from Miami?
Hey, I didn't even know where to come in, where to go out. Like, this is kind of crazy. I didn't even know we could do that. We could push back on on guests that come in. Wow, Alainta, the class that you're showing today had to be from FAMU. That's FAMU stuff right there. But ultimately, I'm just kidding. I'm really just kidding. I think this is very important to have these distinctive conversations. From Linda's perspective, I think there's a lot of products that are out there that are available beyond just the Bank of America. I think that is very important. You have NACA, you have HHA loans, you have other banks, you got other resources. I never even heard about the YMCA, but I did hear about Urban League also providing some of that support, especially in the DMV area. So there's a lot of things available there. So there's something to be said about being trapped into a construct when you are basically using one of these vehicles. And that makes sense. If you're going to use something and it's going to give you something for free, it makes sense why there's limitations. If you're just going to do it yourself, carte blanche, you're going to pull out cash, that's on you as well. So there's distinctions there. I would say for the Bank of America one, some of the key facet that Alainta alluded to is that sometimes as people of color, as people that have been disenfranchised in the past, we typically look at anything that's new as almost a hell to the no. And I always kind of warn people, same as Alainta, is that, hey, I'm half Hispanic. The Hispanic people ain't sweating this thing at all. They're going to pack into these homes that you think that are not desirable. They're going to jump in. And next thing you know, to Alainta's point, years from now, you're going to see, hey, oh, the prices are exorbitant. Oh, they gentrified us out of here. They didn't gentrify you. You had to decide, do you want to stay here? Part of the Bank of America program specifically state that you'd have to paid your rent consistently for a certain amount of years. That's part of it too. So we do have a lot of Black people that's been paying rent for damn near 10 years. If they've been doing that, they literally have it already. They might not have the down payment. I think the way we process who's going to buy these homes, sometimes we think, oh, is this downtrodden person that has nothing going on for them? They might even have decent credit. They might not have the down payment at all. They might be making $60K a year, $70K a year, young millennials. They've been arguing for years that they don't have an in. This is an in. It's not just in Miami. It's also in I believe, New York. And there's a couple other places too that they actually listed it out for. But ultimately, there's an opportunity there. And I think we should be a little bit more open to it. Not to say that it's going to be a perfect program. It's not going to say that it's not going to, box you into something. But at the end of the day, you never know what that opportunity might mean for somebody. So there's a possibility. I see it both ways. I think both are very valid statements. And me being a very fair person that went to Florida State University, I feel that I'm an average person. I don't have to, West Palm my way into the world out here with these streets.
No, I just don't want people to limit themselves. But this is a great conversation. And me and Linda talk a lot about like these different things. But I think for us, just holistically and consistent, like we want people, especially Black people, to be in homes, right? And we want them to be home owners. So in Linda's take, when she's saying that, different products, I didn't know about YMCA. I knew about Urban League. So there are different, home buying products for first-time homeowners. So I want people to utilize that. I just don't want people to limit themselves as well. So yeah, it could be, both can be true, in just in different ways, in different perspectives. But I had to give you a little pushback.
And we have the Hometown Heroes grant for
Yeah.
anyone in the healthcare field was certain different healthcare fields, but most all of them will qualify for up to $25,000. That's a lot of money.
So a lot. So people that have to hit you up who are looking for homes, they have to definitely hit you up. You mentioned last thing is you mentioned about legacy and wanting to leave something behind for your children and just create something, you know, for yourself. So what can you just talk a little bit more about SheMotivates, because I know that's something, you know, big that you're doing here in South Florida, but can you tell listeners what's that about?
So SheMotivates was birthed through a place of, I guess, of pain for me. Like I said, I went through a divorce and I was trying to figure my life out because I was with my ex-husband from the time I was like 18. And then you find yourself like at 33, you're divorced. So I was looking for direction and I didn't have that. I didn't have anyone around me that can guide me. It was either I had angry women saying, F that guy, or I had it was just crazy. I didn't have anyone to really help me and direct me and show me how do you start over. So SheMotivates was birthed through that place of pain for me where I was trying to figure myself out. And I Googled how to change your life. Google is my best friend because Google showed me the way. I came up to this YouTube video with vision boards and creating affirmations daily and stuff like that and saying them. I saw Oprah talking about it and I was intrigued by this talking to yourself and motivating yourself and putting your goals on a vision board. So I said, you know what, I'm going to create a vision board, but it's going to be strategic. It's not going to be like you just putting stuff on this board and like big houses and stuff. I was going to put goals, but I was going to tell myself how to accomplish those goals. And so I did that. And then in a year and a half, 2 years, I saw that I did everything on that board. I took parenting classes. I started co-parenting effectively. I started counseling. I went back to school and got my MBA. I got a promotion at my current job at that time. I just saw that man, everything that I put on this board, I really started to accomplish it. And then I started to tell myself words of affirmation every day. Every day, I told myself how smart I was, how beautiful I was, how much of a great mom I was. I just poured in everything I didn't believe in myself. I told myself that that's who I was. And then eventually I look at this board and I still have it. I had the home. The only thing I don't have is the dog, but I listened to y'all episode about the dog. I don't think I'm
don't do
dog
it.
yet.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'll save you the money. Do not do it.
I don't think I'm going to do that.
Don't do it.
I saw oh my God, I did this. So I said, I'm going to start doing vision board brunches. Lawrence doesn't like brunches, but I started doing I started doing vision board brunches just for a small group of friends. I hosted the first one and those friends brought friends and then it kept growing every year. And then during that time, I started to learn something that I read on Lawrence, blog. I learned that discipline trumps motivation. So SheMotivates came from me wanting people to know exactly what I do when you say my name, So you say SheMotivates, she motivates me. That's what I do, right? But then in me doing the vision board brunches, I realized what allowed me to accomplish those goals were discipline. Because I got myself motivated, but we all know without discipline, you can't do anything. So I feel like you have to have the perfect mix of motivation and discipline. So that started to grow and then it just took from there. And so that's where I really get most of my real estate clients from. As crazy as it is SheMotivates, because people want to do business with who they like, know, and trust. And on the SheMotivates end, you just see, you get Linda, you get me. I'm just me, and I really want to see people succeed. And I started to give back a lot. The Boys and Girls Club gave me myself and my siblings our first Christmas. So I made it my business to every time I have a closing, I give 10% of it to a nonprofit organization of the choice of my clients or my choice. And I don't know. SheMotivates is going places. And then I just finished my first book. Look. A Whole New You.
I'm so
No, you gotta put it.
excited.
Can I see it again?
Yeah.
Can I
That
see
graphic
it?
is nice. That is a nice graphic. I
I
can't see
know
this.
I
So
love
basically,
it.
This is
Linda
like a
it's a
Vincent.
picture of a woman.
Yeah, I see it.
Right?
Yeah.
And in this book, it's an inspirational journal to help you heal from your past trauma. Because I think a lot of times we always hear, like, when you go through a divorce and there's kids involved, it's like, hate the guy, hate the girl. Everybody just hate each other. Right? And I wanted to challenge that narrative. I wanted to figure out, how do I co-parent effectively with someone that hurt me so much, but take out my feelings and co-parent. So in my book, I talk about myself. I talk about the stages that I went through in life and how I overcame them. And at the end, that's where the inspirational journal comes. I bring it back to you and I say, well, have you been molested? I was molested. So I would say, like, have you had something traumatic happen in your life that you never dealt with? What was it? And I try to talk you into thinking about it so you can work through it. I think there's a chapter when I talk about, finding your purpose. I talk about me first, and then I ask you the question at the end to bring it back to you and try to help you work through it. Because I figured, when people see me, they're like, if they saw me years ago when I was married and me now, it's a whole nother person, right? Really a whole nother person. So I always tell people the divorce was a blessing for me because I couldn't have become who I am today without that, because it forced me to look at me in a way that I've never looked at me. I never looked at myself in the mirror and tried to figure out who Linda is. Right. And that's what it forced me to do. It forced me to think, like, what kind of parent do you want to be? What type of sister, friend, mother, who do you want to be? Who are you? And I think that just, oh man, SheMotivates. That birth SheMotivates. And
I'm so happy to see it.
Yeah. And then I go and I show people, like, man, if I could do this, you can too. Like, I just believe it. If I could be a homeowner, you can too. And I did it with 2 kids and no money, So there's help. There's help out there. And even when you are doing okay, like me, like I told you guys at FinCon, I applied for that thing the state of Florida was having. And then boom, they gave it to me. So that's 18 months of my mortgage being paid, my association being paid, and my light being paid. And so then that frees up because I got to get out of debt. I got a credit card that I got, what I'm saying? So I still apply for things that I tried. Even if I think I won't qualify for it, I still apply for whatever I think that I could get,
That was motivational for me. I heard the highlights to it. I love the fact that the book looks so great. It's gonna look so
really
great.
good.
It's gonna look so good on like a Barnes and Nobles, like right there. Like, it's gonna look nice. I like that. I'm definitely I'm gonna grab it. I now read a little bit more, and I definitely like to support that as well.
Not Audible, but read.
Yeah, I'll read it. I'll even go out my way and not read it for free. I become Barnes and Nobles. Be reading people's stuff for free.
I want to purchase it straight from you with a personal note. Can I have, please?
Oh yeah,
Linda?
after you hated on her and her ideas. Okay,
I hate it.
Hey, Linda, make sure that you write in there, hey, make America to whatever is trash. Bye.
And I have to say that, Alainta and I shared our goals, and I was afraid to put out, and Alainta and I met, and I told her I was afraid to actually publish the book, because I was like, oh, it's so much of me that I would share with the world. And then I also felt like, what would my family think and all that. But after talking to her, I was like, yo, you're going to go home and you're going to talk to your family, and you're going to publish, you're going to upload your manuscript and then get a sample of the book so that I could just read it on my own one more time to make sure it's good, because I don't like grammatical errors. And I did that, and I found a few little errors. I sent it back to my lady to just update my manuscript, and then I'll publish it after I do my photo shoot this week. So it was really, when you put it out there, and I think you wrote something about this, Lawrence. I don't know if it was on your blog, but when you put it out there to other people, it actually almost forces you to do what you say you're going to do. So kudos to Atlanta. Once I put it out there, it was kind of like, you got to do it because you told somebody that, you got this, and then I have that ebook. I have another ebook that I just almost finished the cover for, and then I'll put that out shortly, sometime in the beginning of the year. But yeah.
I'm excited. I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited for that. Okay. When it comes to any last things you want to say in terms of not only She Motivates, because you have motivate us enough just to see that beautiful book that you have completed, but any last things in terms of just real estate or people that are not inspired enough to probably purchase a home or who are afraid to do so? Any last words?
I just want to say, I think I'm going to be kind of broad, a little bit of real estate, a little bit of She Motivates. I just want people to know that there is nothing that you can't do if you just put your mind to it. I don't care who told you that you can't, and I've had people tell me that I can't. But I'm telling you that you can. There's nothing that you can't do, whether it is buying a home, whether it is, getting your finances together. If you want to get your finances together or even purchase a home, put yourself around people like Lawrence and Alainta, or read Lawrence's blog. Like immerse yourself into whatever you want and go get it. I just believe that we weren't born to just die. We were born to give something to this world, but also get whatever we desire, if it's the right thing for us to have, of course. But I just think that whatever you want, if you just put your mind to it, I promise you can get it, as long as you're willing to put in the work, and as long as you're willing to be disciplined. And that's the hard part, the discipline part. But if you put yourself around people who are disciplined, naturally, it's like it just does something to you and it makes you more disciplined. I promise you, because I'm not the most disciplined person in the world, but all of my friends are in that area. So it keeps me accountable to what I say, and just treat people right and be kind to people. That's all.
Absolutely. Where can people find you if they are looking to potentially purchase a home or just get one-on-one?
You guys could find me on Instagram at home girl Linda, because I'm your home girl. It's easy with me. So you can find me on Instagram. You can, I would tell you, yeah, you can find me on Instagram or just Google Linda Vincent. I promise you I'll come up. Linda Vincent Realtor.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Linda
I promise
Vincent
you I'll come up
Realtor.
in these
I
streets. Let's
promise you
go.
you'll find me. Just Google me. But honestly, the easiest and fastest way to get me is on Instagram without me putting my number out. But if you go on Instagram at Homegirl Linda, my number is there. My website information is there. Everything is there. So go there and then connect with me.
Perfect. I love the IG handle. I told you that before. Homegirl Linda. I love it.
Yeah, that's actually amazing. I think your entire brand, what you've learned along the way, your journey, I think is really gonna help a lot of people. I know there's She Motivates as the group that you have, like that. I guess the cohorts or group. I think that's something that people could get into, because while you're on this journey, it's always great to have other people next door to you, like people that have also gone through it, walked in your shoes, or even walking in your shoes currently. So feel free to definitely connect with Linda any way, any chance that you have, either been to buy a home or not buy a home, or even ask her questions about how home buying is. I think part of it too, you can actually start asking people some questions, especially if they're on social media and they're experts in these fields. Why just send them a DM? Say, hey, I was thinking about buying a home. Like, is it what can I do to get myself prepared? That's a good question. Why not? Slide in them DMs. With that being said, yeah, I would say for myself, you could find me on the interwebs at the neighborhoodfinanceguy.com, or even the Neighborhood Finance Guy on IG, because I post a lot of stuff and I'm actually behind on like 4 articles. I swear to you, I had like 4 to do and I haven't done them yet, and I'm still working on them.
Life happens. We get it.
I have I got a workshop with my buddy, like an hour, and we're going to talk about personal finances for new dads. That's like a whole new topic I have to explain to him. So I'm going to end up writing about that at one point. It's a lot to do.
So much work.
And hopefully Alainta will learn to have more decorum and not attack our guests next time. I apologize to the listeners.
You know what, though, Lawrence?
She's from FAMU.
Just to input, I would love to see you do personal finances for the entrepreneur with unsteady income. I was looking on your page.
I know, and that's one of those things I would like to do, but I typically speak from a position of which I've either been or have very, close proximity to. Because I'm not an entrepreneur, it's kind of hard for me to tell other entrepreneurs, hey, this is what you're gonna need to do, because it's a little bit tougher. But I did consider that, and I'm definitely thinking about drafting that up in 2023, different elements that they can use and work with, because I think there's insurance that a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. There's retirement that a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. There's also investing as an entrepreneur, like a solo 401ks or SEP IRAs and so on and so forth. There's a lot of conversation that be done there, as well as taxation. Because some people are just kind of like, they're taking money to the bank, they're spending it, and then they realize they have a huge tax bill the next year. So there's a lot to be said about it. And I'll definitely love to even have you back on to just talk about your experience on that level, especially in your taxes or anything like that, that could really help somebody else out as well. Because I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm 9 to 5.
Yeah, that would help me. I think that's the hardest thing for me is I'm like, I know how to budget 9 to 5. I know that. I mastered that when I was working. But that entrepreneurial money, you'd be like, man, I'm getting better, but that's why I have an accountant that handles the books for me so he can keep me good on that end, and I just pay, get my payroll. But it's still tough at times, because you have to adjust your payroll if I don't make as much, and then I start adjusting it, and then I'm like, oh, I don't see anyone talking about this online, like how to master it. I want to master it.
I'll put that in my mind. I'll put that in my notes, to-do list, like all the drafts.
Oh, no, that's a real good suggestion. Maybe you can team with Lovely on some pinpoints on that too. So yeah. Well, this has been an incredible episode with Miss Linda Vincent, aka Homegirl Linda, and SheMotivates. I'm so happy to see that book cover. We're going to talk about that soon off the podcast, but you can find me, one of 3 of the co-hosts, on IG, Alainta_Elson, as well as on YouTube, Alainta. So yeah, I hope you guys take.
Stop lying about that YouTube.
On YouTube. On YouTube.
When's the last time you posted? But continue.
Anywho, so yeah, you can find us on there. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another great episode. TFG, we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.